This time on episode 330 of Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., we discuss Iron Fist Season 2, Episode 3, This Deadly Secret, and Season 2, Episode 4, Target Iron Fist, and weekly Marvel news.
I'm Stephen John Drew from the official GonnaGeek.com show, a weekly geek news podcast that is a part of the Gonna Geek Network, just like the show you're checking out now. Shows on the network are individually owned, and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other awesome geeky shows at GonnaGeekNetwork.com.
You have been granted clearance by director Alfonso Mack Mackenzie. Stand by for a S.H.I.E.L.D. debriefing. All information to be discussed here is classified and may only be discussed among agents granted clearance by the S.H.I.E.L.D. director.
Now it's time for your scheduled debriefing. I'm Director SP.
And I'm Agent Michelle.
Welcome to Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., a Marvel Comic Universe fan show. This show is recorded on Sunday, May 3rd, 2020, live from the Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. studios and broadcast worldwide via www.geeks.live. Come join our live chat as we record. Michelle, happy National Lemonade Day.
I like lemonade with tea. Have you ever had that combination?
I have. Yeah, it brings out the flavor of the tea a little bit more and gives you a little caffeine kick to go with it, as long as you get the tea with the caffeine in it.
Exactly.
A lot of restaurants have that. A lot of restaurants have different things as well along the way. And also, I don't know if you ever had a chance. This was back in, I don't know, the 80s, late 70s. Did you ever play Lemonade Stand?
No.
So it was a business simulation game. It was all text that started, I believe, in 1973. It was really big around 78, 79, 80 time frame when the Apple IIs came out, the Apple IIes. But I first played it on a VIC-20 computer at my neighbor. Brian Tuminelli was his name. And I played it on their computer. I couldn't get enough. It was like crack cocaine to me. It was playing this text-based Lemonade Stand game. It was just 12-turn game. It would give you a forecast for the heat and the weather. And then you would take out of your stock how much lemonade you actually wanted to create, and then you would put it out in the price, and you would put it out, and the computer would come back with a randomly generated day, and it would say, hey, with thunderstorm, you lost everything, or it was a 90-degree humid day, you sold everything and you ran out, sort of thing. And it was just 12 turns, and it was a math game as well as a predictive game, and it was pretty big in computer. It was like the solitaire back then of games, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. I played it on my Commodore 64 when I got that a few years later. And it, I don't know, like if you would play it this week, not only is the temperature not all that great here in the Midwest, but I don't even know if lemonade stands could actually be out there right now in the midst of these stay-at-home orders.
No. I mean, did people wash the lemons?
Put it in soap and water and sing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star a couple of times.
No, there's a way that you can wash, the proper way to wash fruit and such. Not just, you just don't buy them from the store and then cut into them. You need to wash your fruit and vegetables before you eat them, and then wash your hands. I still can't believe we have to teach people how to wash their hands in 2020.
I know. I eat an apple a day, and I wash the apple before I eat it. I wash them when they come home, and then I wash them right before I eat them, because you never know who's breathed on them, because they're out in a bowl in the kitchen, that sort of thing. I do live with several other people in the house, so I use one of those star cutter things to go over the top of them, and Macintosh apples is what I normally get. I can't do sour, and Macintosh is, for the most part, not sour, which I don't like actually drinking lemonade unless there's sugar in it because of the sourness. So ironically, I will drink the bitterness of unsweetened iced tea.
Well, that's interesting. All of these things were not at the dinner party for Iron Fist, were they?
No, apparently not. We'll have to talk about that later. So let's get on with the rest of the show, right? Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a fan-based podcast on the ABC television show Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the multiple Marvel small screen series, and the Marvel cinematic and comic book universes in general.
Because of overdone meatballs.
If you'd like to talk to us about grilled meatballs, you can catch our contact information on our website, legendsofshield.com.
You can leave us a voicemail telling us your favorite pasta recipe at 844-THE-BUS-1. That's 844-843-2871.
You can leave us a message on our Facebook page at Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. about sticking pasta to the wall.
And on Twitter, you can talk about how that's not the way you tell pasta is done. On Twitter, at Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D.
You can leave us a message on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/GonnaGeek about how you prepare for guests at the last minute.
You can tell your Amazon device to enable Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. skill.
And Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a proud member of the GonnaGeek.com network. Now, Michelle, Lauren is not with us tonight. She is having continual back issues. So if you want to reach out to her, you can leave her a message at her Twitter account at SithWitch and give her your well wishes. But we do really want her back next week.
We do. We miss her.
And Haley, Agent Haley, is continuing to have some computer issues. She's hoping to be back with us by the time Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. comes back in a couple of weeks, but she was not able to be with us today. So that just leaves you and me.
I miss Haley too. And yes, it leaves just us.
Now, in fairness, we were actually going to try to invite another person. I mentioned last time that we were going to try to have fans of the show on the show to go ahead and talk about the Netflix series. And we tried to have one tonight with Chris from Play Comics. He unfortunately had some internet issues. We are hoping to have him next week. We're going to do some tests over the next week. If you, listener, would like to come on to Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. and talk about your Netflix series that you want, knowing the ones that we have left, go ahead and get in touch with me on our Discord server, on our Twitter page, either at Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. or direct to me at Stargate Pioneer, or you can send me an email at stargatepioneer@gonnageek.com and you can join it. Michelle, you're really revving to have our fans right here with us on the cast, right?
It would be great. We love Lauren and Haley, but sometimes it would be great to have a third voice here. We obviously work well together, SP, but sometimes it'd be nice to mix it up.
I'm always for mixing it up. So we'll see how that happens. Once again, if you are interested in that, contact me. We will schedule a date. We will try you out, make sure everything technically is working, and then we will go from there. And my appreciation goes out to Chris for attempting to be part of us. He watched the 4 episodes of Iron Fist. He was all set. We were talking to him previous on the show. And for you live listeners, you actually got to see a little bit of him as we were getting ready for the show. But my apologies are to him not being able to have him on the cast, and my wishful thinking of having him next week is I'm really looking forward to that. So hopefully we'll be able to do that. In the meantime, Michelle, I think we need to talk about some Iron Fist.
Sure thing.
Iron Fist Season 2 premiered on Netflix September 8th, 2018, along with all the episodes, or the 2 episodes we're going to be talking about this time. Season 2, Episode 3, This Deadly Secret, and Season 2, Episode 4, Target Iron Fist. Now, Michelle, we often go over the creative team of both episodes as we go along, and often I just let you agents take care of it because you need to shine. But what do you say I actually take care of this first one?
Go ahead.
Okay. So This Deadly Secret was directed by Toa Fraser, who has 21 directing credits starting in 2006, with 1 episode of Penny Dreadful, 2 episodes of the Shannara Chronicles, 4 episodes of Into the Badlands, 1 episode of Iron Fist, that would be this episode, 1 episode of Daredevil, 1 episode of the Titans, 2 episodes of The Rookie, and 1 episode of Star Girl. Toa definitely has a lot of really good series under his belt. This episode was written by Tatiana Suarez-Pico, who has 5 writing credits since 2014, with 1 episode of A Series of Unfortunate Events, 1 episode of Snowfall, 1 episode of Iron Fist, and 1 episode of The L Word, Generation Q. Michelle, what is the creative team behind Target Iron Fist?
Target Iron Fist was directed by M.J. Bassett, who has 17 directing credits starting in 2002. Including 2 episodes of Da Vinci's Demons, 4 Ash vs. Evil Dead, 1 Taken, 1 Iron Fist, 4 Power, 2 Altered Carbon, and 2 episodes of Halo. This episode was written by Jenny Lynn, has 7 writing credits since 2005, 2 Point Pleasant, 2 Arrow, 1 Iron Fist, 2 Mayans MC, and 1 Spinning Out. And Iron Fist is based on the Marvel comic by Roy Thomas and Gil Kane.
And the Iron Fist Season 2 showrunner was Raven Metzner. All right, we got 2 episodes, and we often relate the titles of the episodes to the theme of the episodes. We'll start with the first one, This Deadly Secret. Michelle, what is the theme behind This Deadly Secret?
I suppose there's 2 secrets going on. One being revealed that Davos and Joy know each other and are seemingly working toward each other. And the other one being the surprise dinner.
With Ward and with Danny conspiring just to get Joy in the room.
Yeah.
And everybody knew it was just a big feel out session. I mean, there were a couple of sentences of dialogue thrown in there to placate everybody. Well, maybe they just want to get together. But ultimately, what they were talking about was just trying to find out what everybody's intentions were. And is this the Iron Fist version of monologuing?
Possibly. And I guess there's also the secret of how Davos knew about the photographs because he got scared about that, which we learn in the next episode.
Okay, which the next episode was titled Target Iron Fist. What is the theme of that episode?
Yeah, everybody's after Danny. It's the big plan. It's Davos's big plan to get Danny's coming together. And it seems to be working.
He just won't let it go. He's got all this anger bottled up inside him. Danny is the reason why he didn't get the powers. Danny is the reason why Kunlun no longer exists. And Davos just ain't right with all that. And Davos wants his powers back. Like a 5-year-old that had his toy fire truck stolen from his grips. He wants that back.
That is a superb analogy, SP.
I thought about doing other things like saying like my action figure of Captain America or something like that. But no, I won't even credit Davos with that. It's like a toy fire truck or a toy ambulance or a construction Tonka truck or something like that. I won't even let him have anything superhero because there is nothing with Davos that is superhero related. He's not even, you know how Marvel and a lot of these series are great sometimes in letting us know the background of why the villain is acting the way they are. They gave us the background. I just don't believe it. I think he's just a petulant little child.
I know. Did his father see? It's interesting because we did see the fight. Was his father worried about his son dying? Was it that moment of parental instinct taking over? Did he see something in his son that made him not worthy of actually going to fight? Did he see something more in Danny? He really needs to be angry at his father, but he's not. And to blame Danny as being the only reason why Kunlun fell, it's like saying that Danny was the sole protector of it, but there were other people who could be there and protect it. And we really don't know exactly what happened to Kunlun and why it just disappeared. Maybe they could get it back. I guess Davos, maybe he wants to try, but it just really seems as though I want the powers of the Iron Fist, and that's it.
And has gone through extenuating lengths in order to get these powers back. He has to connive with Joy to get this bowl. He's got to pay an awful lot of money to the Triad and then eventually kill people in order to get his package in, which is a skeleton with some stuff with it. And he's also got to kidnap Danny against his will, obviously. And that's the whole thing of where Mary Walker comes in order to use him. And then he's got 3 women that are assisting mystically this transference of power. It's really just, this doesn't just happen. This is like Goldfinger, like planning on trying to get something that ultimately I don't think is going to so at the end, he's going to have the powers. They talk about the fact that the hand is gone, Kung Lung is gone. So what is the hand's mission now? Ultimately, Davos just wants the power at this point and probably wants to take it away from Danny, but he's going to end up with the power and that's it.
And what's he going to do with it? I mean, and it's not even the dragon. His final tattoo is of a serpent who is not even taking the true form of the Iron Fist powers. He's taking it and making it into something else.
I don't know. I'm 4 episodes into this, and as what I was watching episode 3 and 4 this morning, I'm like, there's got to be more. There's got to be more to this. This is not well enough crafted to really keep me. If I was binge watching this, I would have put it aside after probably episode 3, definitely after episode 4. Yeah. Yes, you want to know if the power is actually transferred or not, because we didn't, the way it ended, at least for me, I didn't see if the power is transferred or not. But I'm like, there's nothing here that I care about. They didn't continue the Colleen storyline too much, except for you throw Misty in, and watching Colleen and Misty, as you alluded to last time, watching them, the 2 of them on this series, that's about the only redeeming thing, because those are the only 2 characters I care about. I don't care about Danny. He's better than he was. He's a lot better than he was, but he's still hot-handed. He's still running off without thinking. And I can't care about it. He's the billionaire. We talked a lot about his issues the last 2 episodes. I don't care about Danny Rand.
He's very focused on being the Iron Fist. He says a lot of I statements. I need to bring peace to Chinatown. I need to bring the hatchets and the tigers to the parlay table. I need to save New York. I need to do this. And it really makes him focus just on being the Iron Fist. I need to be the Iron Fist. While Colleen is actually going, I care about the neighborhood. And when she's talking to Mrs. Yang, she's talking about, people dying and watching our people walk down the street because of all the funerals and our people dying, and we need to save our people, and very much like a we, and actually trying to see the bigger picture with all the people in it. Even she got a little tired of Danny in moments, especially I think in episode 4.
Oh, especially after the whole let's keep this dinner secret from Joy, the fact that Ward wants to show up. Chris wrote in the show notes that it was a 5-year-old plan between Ward and Danny. Okay, let's have Joy and Davos here, and then I'll show up for dessert later on. That's sneaky, underhanded. It's not going to go well at all. And I know that Danny, Colleen, and Ward are all seriously underestimating the evilness of this plan that Joy and Davos are hatching.
First off, Danny, with that phone call at the end of the episode, was actually telling Joy, get away from Davos. He's dangerous. Because Joy spins this tale of them being in love and falling for each other in Paris or whatever. And here's the thing. Joy actually told them, I'm upset because you lied about my father. You took away my father. She actually said this. And then it apparently just went right over their heads because what do? They're going to lie to her again and about a situation. That is one point that I do agree with Joy. They should not have just done this little conspiratory thing. And even Colleen at the end, when she learned, she wants to stop it, but it's too late. She can't stop it.
They literally knock on the door right when she's like, what? No, you need to tell her. And ding dong or whatever. Oh, it was doomed for fail. I'm surprised it went as long as it did. In the writing, you tell why, because Davos had to see those pictures, which he had obviously seen before. They were surveillance pictures taken of Dany by Mary. So he knew what they were. He knew who had taken them. And he was shocked that they were there in the apartment. What's called an apartment. It's really a dojo, but they were there. And he's like, no, we got to go because they have the pictures. This could be really, really bad. And if Mary had been talking, like the real Mary Walker that had been surveilling them, had been talking to Dany and Colleen, that would have been an issue with that meeting that they were having right then and there. So I could see how Davos was like, no, we need to get out of here. But that whole arrangement was basically, I think, to get Davos in there to see the pictures. I think that was the only reason to have this whole thing, because I don't know about you, but I've never tried to grill meatballs before, and I just think that there's so much that's wrong with that.
You saute them in the pan, you put them in, then you eventually put them in the sauce. I don't even cook this much. I've watched enough Food Network to know the basic preparation of spaghetti and meatballs. That's not how you do it.
It's like a junior high level meal or less to prepare, really. And anybody can really do it. And obviously, Colleen and Dany are not at that level. Or maybe they're trying to take it to like the best chef in the world. I don't even know what to call it. But maybe they're trying to take it to that level and they just fail miserably.
I mean, they have that great internet connection. I'm surprised they just didn't have like YouTube going as they were trying to prepare everything.
They didn't have time for YouTube. They were late in the whole invite thing to begin with, and then they had other stuff going on, so they're preparing this meal in like 30 minutes. I could see spaghetti and meatballs in 30 minutes and a salad. I could see that of ingredients that they have there in the house. So yeah, the whole purpose is to get people together. It's not necessarily to have great food, especially when you're talking those two dining in a dojo. But still, it was just it just undermines the whole thing. Maybe it was supposed to be the comic relief that didn't really come off as comic relief given the extenuating circumstances of the meeting.
I do like how Colleen eventually just called everyone on their BS. It's like, let's just talk about what we're here to really talk about. You have problems with me. You have problems with her. You have problems with him. Let's just do this.
In any normal circumstance, say this was a bunch of college buddies that had got into it or something, any normal circumstance, okay. But when you're dealing with mystical level hatred and billions of dollars, no, it's never going to be that simple. So just, it's like an episode of Friends that went horribly, horribly wrong.
Well, Joyce said earlier that dinner's never just dinner.
Dinner is never, especially in New York, I guess. All right. So dinner at the Rands went really bad. Colleen, the part of the storyline that we were able to follow, Colleen actually gets into Frank Choi's shop, which breaking into a shop, I mean, really use a small crowbar that just happens to be there to pop the hinge where the lock is supposed to be screwed to the door. And then just to get it, I think it would have already been open. I mean, maybe it's not open because it's protected by the triad, but that's very poor security.
And what we were told earlier is that he was hiding from people because he owed them money and he was already in hiding. So I would have expected the place to have been searched. I can understand perhaps the ledger being missed in a better location because it's just underneath the chair. Not the best location to hide stuff. Not like that anyway.
Not when you're tossing a place. You see criminals coming in and toss a place all the time. Chairs end up upside down all the time. So yeah, of course somebody's going to see that.
Yes, but now there's a ledger. She has a clue, and we weren't able to go forward on that because Danny had to, and Davos needed to get his bowl. He's got his bowl and his mummified corpse of an iron fist. And he takes the mask and he takes the tattoo so he can take it to the Crane sisters so they can make this weird tattoo thing.
I want to go forward with the ledger just a little bit. So if Frank Choi is in police custody, you would think he would have given up the ledger at some point, because that would be what the police would want to see is something like that to implicate the triad. The police, according to Misty, are involved in trying to bring down the triad, which, although Danny is involved with working with the triad right now, he's mainly working with the triad just because they're a reality and he doesn't want the whole city to collapse underneath him. But he's okay with the police actually taking down the leaders of the triad. So he's okay with working with Misty on that. So the police maybe allegedly have Frank Choi in custody. Maybe that's where he went rather than hiding on the lam or dead. And you have Misty that had been part of this task force to bring down the triad that were outside of the meeting place that went horribly wrong, the parlay that went horribly wrong because Danny. And now Misty's involved with the rest of New York police. So this is going to be a complicating factor as we move forward with these next 6 episodes, with the police either being effective or ineffective. My guess is, other than Misty, they're going to be ineffective.
I hope not. I know that she said that they have a guy in there. Now he's in the hospital because Danny jumped the gun, so to speak, or jumped the fist maybe, because he saw some movement out there when they were actually at the negotiating table. When Mrs. Yang almost had a deal, he made that call. Again, Danny is very much me. I say that there's something wrong and therefore we have to end this. And he ends up sending the undercover cop to the hospital.
I don't necessarily think Danny was wrong. So he did not know of the police influence. He did see the people outside there. He didn't know what was going on. I think in his protectorate role of Mrs. Chang, I think he actually still made the right decision in that moment in time. I don't think he fooled any. If the police would have let him in on what was going on, which they had absolutely no reason to at the time, but if Misty had gotten to Danny at the time, knowing that Danny was on the periphery, because the informant had to tell her that Danny was around, that things could have been a lot better. Danny wasn't planning on being at that meeting either. So ultimately, I can't blame Danny for the failure of the parlay. I can't blame the police for being easily observed by anyone, including Danny.
That's a good point. They were just there. It was very obvious and is not the best way to do an operation like that, a sting like that. You do want it to be secret. You do want it to be last minute. Of course, well, Misty would know that Danny Rand's the Iron Fist. She knows that. Logically, she would have actually probably considering the news reports, that Danny's the one that stopped that robbery that we saw in the first episode. So logically speaking, she could have gotten word to him sooner. She didn't have to, but she knows, she's dealt with, she was in the Defenders. That's how she lost her arm. So she knows about Jessica Jones, and she knows Daredevil's dead, and Luke Cage. She obviously knows Luke Cage. And, now Danny, obviously her arm is a Rand arm. Like, it wouldn't make sense for her to actually be, no, like earlier, be like, no, Danny, we got this. You need to step aside before all of this. Again, if it's supposed to be connected, it would make sense.
And Mrs. Yang, she's got some moves. First of all, she knows what's going on with her husband. Her husband is incapacitated, which that's a whole Davos thing as well. And that's what tips Danny off to Davos being involved in everything. But Mrs. Yang takes the bull by the horns, goes to the parlay, brings somebody along to protect her because she knows she's a little bit in over her head. First of all, the triad is not usually dealing with the spouses. It's usually the heads of the houses, right? And second of all, she's operating from a point of disadvantage, obviously, because the docks get taken from her anyway overnight. And then she shows off her combat skills as well. So my hat is off to Mrs. Yang. She's able to maneuver as best as she can. She ends up losing, so to speak. She loses the docks. She ends up losing in the end, but she got out alive, which is something to be said about everything in this series so far.
Yeah, she was able to stab a guy in the eye. That was awesome.
Yeah.
No, don't hold on. Don't stab people in the eye. That's not what was awesome. In the context of this fictional world, in that fight, it was awesome.
Okay, I agree with that. And also, Colleen was fighting pretty well, but after everything we've seen with Colleen, I think she could have excelled at that point rather than where she was.
Yeah, that seemed to be we need to set up Mrs. Yang to be a stronger character for the next episodes. I agree. I think there should have been at least like 2 more people there because we saw Colleen in the previous episodes take out a whole kitchen full of guys. So, yeah.
Right. So let's move on to Ward because that is the last dangling thing from the Deadly Secret. Ward is continuing to go to Narcotics Anonymous and basically calls out everybody that somebody told Joy that he was in recovery. And that's what NA stands for, by the way, is Narcotics Anonymous in this particular case. But it's any recovery. It's any abuser recovery 12-step process sort of thing. And he accused everybody. He never got an answer from anybody, including his sponsor/girlfriend. She evaded the question every single time he brought it up because he brought it up with her multiple times. He evaded it with her. I'm thinking that she, and I can't remember her name for the life of me, but I'm pretty sure that she's working for Joy as well.
Either that or we learned that Mary Walker, the Walker side of her, has been hired to tell Danny for the past 60 days. Joy could have hired somebody to follow Ward to figure out what Ward has been up to. Ward actually used her assistant against her and actually bribed her super. She could have done similar things. Maybe it is the sponsor who actually decides to quit being his sponsor to get him another sponsor, which that's the responsible thing to do. Maybe. It's not the only way.
Regardless, Ward and the sponsor apparently are proceeding as an item. I'm not quite sure what she sees in him, but they are proceeding as an item, and we'll see what happens with that relationship as it goes on and who might be involved and who is not involved. So Mary Walker, we find out that she does have dissociative personality disorder. She was discharged from the armed forces. We see the VA discharge paperwork, but we don't know any specifics other than she's very capable. She has different personalities, and that at the end of the second episode, she is able to take on Danny Rand. Now, she said, and correct me if I'm wrong, but she said she's been planning something like this for 60 years. Is 60 years the date, or maybe it was just 16 years and I misheard?
Yeah, it's not 60. It wasn't 60.
Okay, so we'll go with 16. Maybe that's what she said. So she's been planning this for 16. She's got one green eye and I believe a brown eye.
Yeah, she has 2 different color eyes. And she's fighting Mary, who wants that cabin in the woods and who wants all these nice little things and is polite to Danny. eventually Joy figures that out by touching all the things. That was a really interesting way to find out.
It was like an interrogation. And I don't know why Mary even let her go on. I would have stopped it right then and there. I mean,
she's under contract.
Yeah, but does that include your employer able to go through your entire apartment?
Technically, she wasn't supposed to allow those photographs to be seen by Danny. Davos wanted to kill her.
That would have been interesting. I wish he would have tried, because I think she would have killed him.
Yeah.
I would have stopped a lot of problems. Well, I don't think we've seen the last of Mary. Matter of fact, there's a background to Mary. There's a comic background to Mary, which Chris was all set to discuss. So if he is indeed going to be here next week, I'm going to leave that discussion for him next week. I did, after I saw these episodes, I'm like, okay, I've seen enough. So I did some searches into the character, learned a lot more about the character. But again, I will leave that to next week. If anybody out there wants to talk about the character of Mary Walker and the comic book name of Mary Walker, please leave us a message and we'll include it in next week's episode. What else would you like to talk about that we haven't touched on already, Michelle?
Nothing. Just there wasn't.
Why are we watching this?
We're watching this because you are a completist, and I am quoting you back.
Yes, that's true.
You are why we are watching this.
And I'm glad I watched Luke. Matter of fact, after these couple of episodes with Misty, I'm glad I watched the Luke Cage series before this. It gave me a little bit more context. You can watch Iron Fist season 2 without watching season 2 of Luke Cage. They're all meant to be that way. But if you want to catch every single connection between everything, it is probably better to watch one after the other. And I can't wait till we actually watch Luke Cage season 2, because so far Luke Cage season 2 is better than Iron Fist season 2, but we still have 6 episodes of Iron Fist to get through. And along the way, we're getting ready for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. You ready for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D? May 27th?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Well, along the way, we're going to be discussing the last 6 episodes of Iron Fist season 2. So next week, we will discuss season 2, episode 5, Heart of the Dragon, and season 2, episode 6, The Dragon Dies at Dawn. And hopefully we'll have Chris with us, and maybe even Lauren and Haley. So we'll get into that. In the meantime, there is one news story which we think is very relevant to talk about. So I actually found this web site, this story on The Verge. And at first I didn't think we were going to talk about it because it was just about Spider-Man. And even though Spider-Man is part of the MCU, it is not officially done by Marvel. It's done by Sony. And I thought, okay, so we're not going to talk about it because it's just not that important. However, it turns out that it is important, right, Michelle?
Yeah, it seems as though the third installment of the Spider-Man Homecoming trilogy, which is in partnership with Marvel Studios, is going to be delayed. And now it's not going to be open until July 16, 2021, which means things are going to get pushed back.
Well, actually, the Homecoming trilogy will open on November 5th, 2021, instead of July 16th, 2021.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I missed.
That's okay. And also Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is slipping from April 8th, 2022 to October 7th, 2022, which isn't exactly an MCU thing, but it does slide everything to the right. And if you're Marvel, you want to space out these Marvel movies anyway, even if it is a cartoon, Into the Spider-Verse, and you want to space them out. So it also ends up backing up other things that are in the MCU, because the Spider-Man movies, we went through this whole thing about Sony actually pulling out, and then there was this big fan backlash against it. And Tom Holland himself went to his creators and said, I don't want to do Spider-Man unless they're part of the MCU. And it worked. So thank you very much, Tom, for groveling and begging Sony and everything. Thank you for doing that, because I think it's just going to be much better. But it means that the stories which were dependent on that story are going to have to be moved back. So we got 2 movies that are being moved back: Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness and Thor: Love and Thunder. And Doctor Strange sequel was moved to November 5th, 2021. Just a couple of weeks ago. It was moved to that because Marvel moved everything back. Now it has to move to March 25th, 2022. And then Thor: Love and Thunder is actually moved up a week to February 11th, 2022 from its original February 18th, 2022. So they had more time to think about it, so they moved Thor up. But these 2 movies, which were supposed to happen next year, are not going to happen until 2022. Everything's moving back. It's going to be a interesting year and a half for content, because nobody's making any content right now because of worldwide stay-at-home orders.
Yeah, going to have to reevaluate how production happens, where they shoot. There are certain states that have higher infection rates than others. It's going to be interesting to see what they do. Are they going to do smaller sets, shorter film times? If they go to shorter days, that means longer weeks to film. It's going to be very interesting to see what they do.
So before, when we were talking about it, you brought up the original news story that was moving everything back. We were talking about when was the last time we only had 1 movie in a year, and we were pontificating it might be Iron Fist. I actually, when I was editing that show, I went back to look, and it was not what I was saying was The Incredible Hulk, because The Incredible Hulk and Iron Man 1 actually came out in the same year. They skip a year. So it was 2008, then they skipped a year, 2009, then 2010 was the next movie. The last year that they only had 1 movie was The Avengers in 2012. So between 2012 and 2019, they had multiple movies each year, 2013 through 2019. This will be the first year that there's only 1 Marvel movie in the year. And then who knows what's going to happen in 2021.
And I wonder if we're going to get more films released home-wise, because even if movie theaters start opening up in the summer, they're going to have to be, I think I've read, half capacity, even when everything's supposed to be completely opened up. You can't exactly get all of your money if you're having to do theaters that are half capacity. You have to be able to make up that money quickly. And I think one of the ways is charging, to see it at home sooner.
If they would offer this Black Widow movie that's coming up, if they would offer Black Widow to be released at home at the same time that it's released in the theater, I will gladly pay the $20-25 to see it at home versus go to the theater. Right now, for safety reasons and I just don't like people chomping on their whatever popcorn or whatever next to me. I'm an audiophile without being an audiophile. I just don't like the distraction sort of thing. But there's something to be said about watching a movie in a theater and having all those reactions. The Endgame and Infinity War were incredible to sit in the theater with all those fan interactions, all the oohs and the ahs, and everybody being taken on this 10-year-long journey in the MCU and just being able to see it together. Star Wars, same kind of thing. Me being in the theater or in the stadium at Star Wars Celebration, seeing that trailer with 25,000 other Star Wars fans, it would be nothing like it for the rest of my life in terms of geekdom. That I've been to San Diego Comic-Con, and yes, there's a lot of geeks around there, but this was one trailer, and they had this whole setup for it, and then everybody saw it at the same time, and everybody saw the big spoiler at the same time. It was great being part of all that, and just like it's great to be in a theater watching this with people that are around you experiencing it at the same time. So I'm not poo-pooing that. I'm just saying, if you're able to release it at home at the same time you're going to release it in the theater, you're going to get more money out of it ultimately, because people will want to watch it. It's going to be new content. for people that don't want to go out, and not like California beaches that are open and everybody flocks to them. We're just going to get to a point where people are going to either want to take the risk or not want to take the risk. And if these streaming could be related back to the actual theaters for the first 90 days or whatever that they're supposed to have exclusivity, I'll be glad for that. And then after 90 days, it can go whatever distribution path that the theaters have prearranged. But for the first 90 days, any streaming funding should go to these theaters, because the theaters are going to have to stay in business somehow. Theaters are not going to go away. They might go bankrupt, but they're not going to go away. Could you imagine the lines to see some of these movies if a lot of these movie theater go bankrupt and they have to close their doors, and then all of a sudden there's a movie after this whole thing is out that everybody wants to go see, but there's only like 5 theaters in a town like Chicago or something like that that's still open? Can you imagine that?
I know. The problem is that even before this, when you went to the theater, I don't know about your theater experience. My local theater, people are nasty. And the only cleaning that would happen was this, like they would brush up the popcorn in between like the 15 minutes. I remember getting an email like from AMC going, we're going to, implement better cleaning measures. Like they're going to actually have to go in and clean like the armrest. They're going to have to wipe the armrest. They're going to have to wipe the railing part, where people touch to go up and down the stairs. There's a lot more than just the half capacity rule or the 75% capacity rule, because then they need more time in between showings, which means there's less showings a day. I don't want movie theaters to go away. There's this great Twitter thread where people are retweeting moments from the theater where people, like especially the Captain America being able to pick up Meow. Yeah, meow, meow. We all knew he could do it. We all knew he was faking it during Ultron. We all knew that. And being able to see that clip and then everybody reacting, I still get chills. I remember being there and clapping along and stuff. I like that. I love that. But you know what I like more? People being alive. I like that a lot more than going to the movie theaters. People being healthy and being alive. I like that a lot more.
Definitely. So we'll see what happens with movie theaters. I don't think it'll be one of the big movies that will test the system. I think it'll be a smaller movie along the way, but who knows? It might very well be Black Widow that actually tests the system and see what exactly people are going to want to do and what the theaters and the distribution systems are capable of doing. Like I said, I'd be happy right now of paying $20, $25 to go rent one of these and stream it to my house for a night, because I know that's going to be about what everybody is going to be paying for it anyway. So we'll see what happens. In the meantime, we've got all these movies that are pushed back, and hopefully we'll have some good content again eventually, and that Marvel can pull this all off. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to more new content. Thank goodness we have Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., right? Thank goodness we have some of these Disney Plus series that are headed our way, either Star Wars or Marvel, that are already in the can, and we're able to see it. I was listening to a podcast talking about Netflix and how their earnings are up for quarter 1 and quarter 2 worldwide. And they were saying, yeah, it's actually not going to go down anytime soon because all the content is actually pre-produced, but eventually it's going to get to the point where we don't have new content, and all the streaming services are like that, not just Netflix. So we're still within a bound 6-9 months where we're going to have new content. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. season 7 was actually filmed over a year ago, and it's all been ready to go for like a year. So just grateful we've got that to look forward to right now.
Yeah, me too.
All right, Michelle, I think it's time to get this one out. Why don't we this week be escorted by Misty into the car on the way out, and that it's not a request?
No, it is not.
I want to thank our audience for watching, for listening to this show. and staying with us as we go through Iron Fist on our way to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 7. And after that, we will complete all the Netflix series. So it's a great time to be a Marvel fan just because there's so much of it out there. And you can go back and redo it. Matter of fact, I was thinking about doing a rewatch of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. before the season came out. I'm not sure I'll be able to get that in there, but I've been looking forward to that. And I want to say thank you very much to Chris, who tried to be on this podcast this week. We'll try to work through the technical issues and have him on next week. Don't forget, if you want to be on the show, please send me a note and we will try to schedule a date in the future for you.
Yes, thank you to everyone who is still listening. I hope we are bringing at least a few laughs to your day, or making you just sort of forget what's going on just for a few moments. Yeah, so just thank you for interacting with us, being with us for as long as you have been.
All right, Michelle, I think it's time to get on out of here today. Until next time, I'm Director SP.
And I'm Agent Michelle.
See everybody next week. Bye.
Bye.
Maintain your social distancing.
Wash your hands.
Don't touch your face.
Wear a mask.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. If you want to leave us feedback, go to gonnageek.com and you will find all our contact information and other shows. You can also visit legendsofshield.com, where you'll find our complete archive of podcasts. The music heard on this podcast is by Kevin MacLeod, found at incompetech.com, and also artists on pond5.com and audiojungle.net. The opinions heard on this podcast are those of the individual hosts and do not represent Stargate Pioneer Productions, Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., or Gonna Geek. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is the property of the Disney Corporation, Marvel Studios, and ABC. No infringement is intended. Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. is copyright 2013 through 2020.